Hello and welcome to A New Day with Susan. I'm your host, Susan Yockey, and today I have with me Daniel Olexa. He brings more than 30 years of professional problem solving to his hypnotherapy and coaching practices. The tools that he used to help his business customers succeed are the same tools that he uses to create winning solutions for his hypnotherapy clients. So, just to give you a little more background, as a hypnotherapist and a coach, Daniel has successfully worked with people from around the world to create lasting, positive life changes. His unique approach to understanding his clients' issues helps them to uncover the knowledge they need to bring profound change to their lives. Through hypnotherapy, Dan then provides them with the tools to build this life. He loves looking for answers that are not obvious, not settling for the expedient solution, but asking the right questions to find the correct answer to a problem or issue. Daniel's mission is to create unique solutions for each and every one of his clients so that they may realize the life they dream of living. And I actually want to first off just say welcome to A New Day with Susan and being on my show. I'm excited to find out more about what you're up to.
Oh, thank you, Susan. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So looking at your biography and what you're up to, first I want to point out that you have a new book coming up June 30th. Like, we're almost there. I bet you're excited.
I am 10 days away. I just realized that today. And we're in the final crunch of getting everything finalized so that it can be live on the 30th.
Nice. That is so exciting. And your book is A Pessimist Guide to Manifesting, which you co-authored with an Iris Terner.
Yes.
Excellent. Would you like to share a little bit more, maybe give us just a tiny little bit of what the book's going to be about?
Yeah, this book is our second book. Our first one was called Practical Manifesting, which was about, the purpose for writing that book was to fill in the gaps left by The Secret. When I was 15 years ago, whenever that book was written, it was a wonderful introduction to the law of attraction. But it was incomplete. It left me at the time, and so many other people that I know, left them with the idea, if I just wish for it, everything will happen. It'll be magical, and all I need to do is wish. And that's wrong. You still have to take action. You can wish to win the lottery, but unless you're going to go out and buy a ticket and take that action, or if a ticket is blowing down the street, if you don't bend over to pick it up, it's not going to happen. So it's like the old thing, wish in one hand and you know what in the other, and see what happens first. So when I was going through my hypnotherapy training and discovered that there's more than one universal law of manifesting, it's like, no wonder it didn't work. And I wanted to start filling in those gaps for those people who left that book the way I did, thinking this doesn't work. This is just a bunch of.
Right.
And so the first book started that from a very practical, down-to-earth, life mastery sense of get clear on your vision, get clear of what you need to do to get there. And then we introduced some spiritual concepts of clearing the fear, clearing the anxiety, getting a sense of confidence and deservedness. Yeah. This book is a deep dive into each of the 21 different universal laws of manifesting, where the idea behind the title is that we come at it from that perspective of this doesn't work, I'm putting my energy back out there and it's not coming back in the way I want it to. Well, why? It's not that the law isn't working, because the laws are always working. The question is, what are we actually sending out as we're sending out our intention or our request? And how are we vibrating with it? What are we saying? What's our belief underneath it? And if you're not getting back your results, how do you clear yourself and get really focused on what it is you want, so that you're sending out the right message for it to come back to you in the way that it's supposed to come back?
Nice. Yeah, it definitely had a big missing for me.
You and so many other people I've talked to in the past couple of years.
So, I think that's really great that you're going to be able to fill in those gaps with your new book. And what I wanted to also talk about here, just looking at your biography, because I am just curious, what it says, Daniel is also a PADI staff. What is a PADI?
PADI is Professional Association of Dive Instructors. It's a scuba diving organization. It's actually the largest of all of them.
Oh.
And I am an IDC staff instructor. So
Uh-huh.
I am able to teach up to assistant instructor level trainees from open water all the
Wow.
way to assistant instructor level.
Okay, that makes sense now. Because when you're talking about teaching the students to breathe underwater by gently coaching them past their fears, I immediately went to, because as a coach, I'm thinking, oh, I love that. I've never heard of that terminology where we always hear we're going to get to the root cause, or
Mm-hmm.
I thought, wow, that's interesting. So this is really great. I'm just intrigued by hypnotherapy. So how long did it take you to learn that?
I found a program in Florida when I was transitioning from my old corporate life to the thing that I wanted to be when I grew up. And without going into the story for too long, all I can say is everything aligned. And I was really, no other way to say it, I was led to hypnotherapy. And as I was researching training programs, was in transition of moving from Kansas City to Naples, Florida, on the road with my now wife at that point. And we're talking it over in the car and said, here's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm really curious about this. It feeds my passion, as I had discovered that I have that passion for problem solving. And I've always helped, even in my prior professional career, my goal was to help other people be successful. It was never really about me. It was promoting other people.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to Nashville that night. I jumped online, typed in hypnotherapy training Florida, and I found there was one school in Florida teaching a state certified 500-hour program, and they had a satellite campus in Naples.
Oh, nice.
And at that moment, I was like, just shut up and take my money. I know where I'm supposed to go now.
Yeah.
Because all of their other campuses were major cities, Tampa, Orlando, Miami. And here's little Naples, Florida with a satellite campus. Okay.
Wow.
So it was 500 hours, was 9 months of training.
Mm-hmm.
And then I opened my office in Florida, opened my practice after the first 300 hours, which got me to certified hypnotherapist. Hours 300 to 400 for clinical hypnotherapy, and hours 400 to 500 were for what that school calls transpersonal hypnotherapy, which to everybody else in the world is the spooky spiritual side of hypnotherapy that gets into past life regression, alien abduction, entity attachment, all the spiritual stuff that just, for whatever reason, just happens to come up every now and then. But it's important to know how to facilitate it when it does happen, whether you believe in it or not.
Yeah.
It's happening for the client, and it's necessary to meet them where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had the opportunity to meet a couple other hypnotherapists, and and I don't know if you would agree with this, but they had also said that, there's an old paradigm or context that people come from, that you go into this office and you sit down and they dangle this thing in front of your face, and that, what is it? How would you explain it to someone who is just learning about hypnotherapy?
I come at it from two angles depending on where they are. And this is actually the biggest challenge I have in marketing my practice, because that old paradigm, what I found was when I would be out doing networking or just even meeting people socially and they ask what I do, and I say, oh, I'm a hypnotherapist, their response was one of two, and there was no gray area. They either thought it was the coolest thing they ever heard, or they thought I was going to make them dance like a chicken when I shook their hands.
Oh, no.
So then it turned into education. If they were really far over, there was nothing, they were just not prepared to have the conversation. But for the ones who were a little more curious to learn more, the biggest thing I can impart to anybody is all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. It's not about me snapping my fingers and saying, sleep now, and then telling you what to do. It doesn't work that way. It's about the client coming to me and us having rapport, and the client believing that, one, I understand their issue where they are, that I understand where they want to go, and that they believe that I have the tools and the understanding to close the gap and get them where they want to go. With that agreement and that understanding and belief in their mind, then they are willing to relax into that state of of hypnosis, which is just a deeper brainwave state. If they're on guard, if they don't think I'm the person, or maybe we just don't have rapport. I'll admit there are some people I don't get along with. It's sometimes you just don't click with a client. For those, then maybe another provider is the right person, but we will, if someone doesn't click with the provider, chances are their results will not be as profound as someone that they just have that chemistry with.
Yeah. Wow. So do you think that it's gotten a lot easier since just over time in the 30 years that you've been doing this, versus how it started out?
It's getting better. And I've been doing this for, I'm going on my 4th or 5th year in practice now. I came out of professional life and with 30 years of problem solving experience, taking care of other people, still taking care of other people's stuff, but left corporate to do this for myself, following my passion of what I really want to do to change the world and help people change their lives. And it has gotten better. I noticed that since moving to LA a couple years ago, certainly California tends to be on the forefront of these, and hypnotherapy has been known here for 30 some years. So it is easier, but I still run into that old mindset. And it's interesting in navigating it and really understanding what that fear is and helping people overcome it, because it's a profound tool to help change things. I think of there was a study done in American Health Magazine, I think back in the early 90s or early 2000s, that looked at the success rates of traditional talk psychotherapy, behavior therapy, and hypnotherapy. And my percentages will be close. I don't remember it verbatim, but the results came back like traditional talk therapy was something like 28% success rate after 600 sessions. So if you're thinking of that as weekly sessions,
no kidding,
that's like 5 years.
Yeah.
So 50 weeks a year. 600 sessions. 3 to 4 years. Behavior therapy reduced that dramatically with, I think their number was something like 76% after just 22 weeks. So dropping that number way down to just 6 months of work and tripling the success rate nearly. Hypnotherapy came in at 93% after 6 sessions. Because we're going straight to where those root false beliefs are held and changing that perception from where it's driven. And it makes sense that the others take longer, because talk therapy is taking place in the front of the brain in the prefrontal cortex. It takes time to bubble back to that level, where behavior therapy is stepping back a little bit more by changing the behavior, and it's getting there faster.
Wow, that is astonishing. That's so astonishing. So what are some of the things that clients are coming to you for? Like, what are your top maybe 3 things?
For me, it's interesting, because what I heard going through training and what I've experienced is that you tend to attract the clients who are most like you. So my clients have been very entrepreneurial, or they have been stuck in their life at a point that I remember myself being stuck in years ago, looking for a happier life, looking to find their passion and motivation to either get re-engaged at work or find their own thing and start their own business. So those are the big things that I have clients come to me for.
Nice. Have you ever helped anybody with like health or like quit smoking?
Yeah, I have very, very few stop smoking clients. And I think the big reason for that is now that smoking has become so ostracized in our culture, the people who are still smoking, it's so much a part of their identity that until it's a health concern time, they're not responding to the message. I have I don't use the word stop smoking or quit smoking, because even though you're doing a positive thing, there's a negative connotation to stopping and quitting. So
Yeah.
I have a program on my website for becoming a non-smoker.
Okay.
And it just sits there. Very few people engage with it. I've promoted it incessantly,
Yeah.
but until that person is ready, and the ones who have used it,
Uh-huh.
they've all been successful.
Wow.
But it's very, again, it's not about me saying, don't be a smoker. It's
Yeah.
about them being ready to make that shift, because it's very
Yeah.
much on the client to make the change, and they have to be ready.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know for myself, in my experience, and it's, my younger days, not that I'm like super old or anything, but in my younger days, I remember being at a fair and seeing a hypnosis person there, and they were doing, having them go under or something. And that was the only thing I can remember about that. And then over time, I remember hearing like that's what they do, is they dangle these things, or I've even seen it in movies, where the most recent movie actually was really awesome.
Get Out.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I thought, wow, I wonder, can that really happen?
No.
Okay.
There's a blog on my website about that.
Really?
When I saw the trailer, I'm like, no, it looks like a fun movie, but they're not using this the right way.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I saw the movie, and it was a good movie, but that element, if he was not comfortable with her, he would
Yeah.
not have relaxed in and taken those suggestions. It doesn't happen that way.
Okay. Well, that's good we
So
talked about it.
the other thing that goes along with that, and this is a question I get a lot, is people are familiar with it from stage or from fairs, and they see
Yeah.
their shy friend who would never put themselves at the center of any attention
Mhm.
go up on stage, and suddenly they're dancing, talking in a strange foreign language, clucking like a chicken, whatever. And it appears like they are being controlled by the hypnotist. And in that case, I will use the word hypnotist, because they're not doing hypnotherapy.
Okay.
And the question will be like, how does that happen? Why is that happening? Because this
Yeah.
person wouldn't do that. Well, the answer is because, one, it's true that you cannot be hypnotized to do something that's outside of your moral core, or you couldn't do anything that you wouldn't do normally, or I
Okay.
shouldn't say normal, that you would not want to do. So the answer to that question is, that person, while they are shy and withdrawn, internally wants to be the center of attention. They want to have a place where they can shine.
Yeah.
And this now gives them an opportunity to do it in a way that appears safe, because they appear to be out of control, in that the other person is telling them what to do. So again, it's very much that agreement between the provider and the client, that, okay, I'm willing to do this because you're telling, in that case, that in their mind, they're being told what to do.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that really makes a lot of sense. So with your clients, in based on, because the like-mindedness of your businesses and entrepreneurial, when you're working with those entrepreneurial clients, what are some of the things that you're working with them through?
The biggest one that comes up, and strangely enough, this comes up across the board, is confidence. That when you think about someone particularly transitioning out of being an employee to now being an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole lot of things they may not know about that space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's moving out of a comfort zone. It's changing who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the confidence that they can do it, and getting past that, in the internal critic and the imposter syndrome, that, oh my God, I'm going to get caught. Somebody's going to realize I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But also the sense of deservedness, that I deserve to be able to go out and do this. And the biggest thing that comes up, strangely enough, is that in those cases, fear of success is stronger than fear of failure. Because if they fail, they can stay where they are. They can still have the same friends, still have the same family, still have all of these other
Yeah.
constants. But if they succeed, that could mean more time at the office, learning to do books, learning to do all kinds of things that they don't know how to do in running a business, or possibly even committing so much of their life to getting the business up and running that it's now detracting from home life, and trying to rediscover what's that balance look like now as I'm building up my professional life. Will things be okay at home, and how do I navigate that? Because I just don't know. So that fear of the unknown, even though it's growing, it's a sense of growing outside of the comfort zone. What's outside of that shell is still an unknown, even though it's probably greener fields and blue ocean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes sense. One of our basic human needs is the need for certainty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that was one of my big things was uncertainty of an outcome. And, oh gosh, it would take over me.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow. Okay. So it says here that you're also an assistant trainer with the Life Coach Institute of Orange County. What are you sharing, with your skills and your experiences for, it says next generation of life coaches. Is that like a school, or what is it that you're doing?
Yes, the Life Coach Institute of Orange County is a life coach training institute that's based in Costa Mesa, California. And I took their training and then came on board as an instructor with them about 6-8 months ago or so. And what we're doing there is teaching the life coaching model based on the ICF, the International Coach Federation, their model of what coaching is, which is very much question-based. It's not true coaching is not about providing answers, being a counselor, giving advice. It is that the client knows what is best for them and helping them uncover that resourceful state within themselves. So what I'm doing in that position is training people how to follow that model so that they can go out and at the end of the 3-day training weekend, they are certified professional coaches that they can go out and start their own business. So also helping that next level of entrepreneur in a different way. Right.
That is awesome. So, oh my gosh, I always can keep going back to this hypnotherapy. Well, like you, I've always been like, I don't know if I'm just because I'm analytical, but I love to pick apart and dig deep into stuff. And part of my coaching is we actually get to the root cause. And like you said, it's about asking questions and navigating and pointing to, and but this hypnotherapy just keeps showing up in my life.
Okay.
And so do you teach that in the Life Coach Institute, or are you teaching it at all?
I am not teaching hypnotherapy. So that in the ICF model, hypnotherapy is not part of coaching. When I engage with my clients, I even keep relatively strict boundaries between the two, because I'll have some clients come to me as coaching clients, some clients come to me as hypnotherapy clients, and to me, it's even though I'm helping them to achieve, there's a different level of interaction, different set of goals, and two very different models in how we connect and interact. There are two different contracts when it comes down to it, two different paper contracts that I'm doing. So I tend to keep the two models separate.
Okay. So what are some of the things, do you work with a lot of people that are, well, it sounds like you do when you're talking about confidence, because that's a mindset, it's about limiting beliefs, but what are some of the things that you do with your client to help them move through this confidence issue they have?
The first one, in the typical model when I'm working, we'll stick with hypnotherapy, is understanding initially where they're at, what's their inner dialogue like, what do they feel about the situation they're in. And those are typically heavy negative words like I'm sad, I'm not happy, or they'll use the term that sadly enough has somewhat become the Kleenex of all emotional terms, I'm depressed. Or depression is a clinical diagnosis, but people use that term when they're not feeling energized. So I have to be really careful navigating around the I'm depressed phrase, because are you truly depressed and don't have the energy to even get out of bed and don't see light in life? Or are you just sad for a couple of days because something happened at work or something happened in a relationship? Very different interactions. So understanding where they are and their language, but then where do they want to go? What is it? What's that vision of life that they're feeling the disconnect from? What's that feeling or vision on the horizon? And what do they feel about it? What do they believe about it? What do they believe about themselves as that person or in that vision? And through initially suggestion work, which is just delivery of essentially affirmations, helping to replace the internal negative loop with a positive supportive one through repetition of messages. The subconscious tends to be impressed with messages and beliefs in one of two ways, either a moment of shock or through repetition of hearing the same thing over and over. And we can replace it in the same way of getting into that hypnotic state where the subconscious mind is opened up, and then delivering those positive supportive affirmations that are in alignment with where they want to go, replace the negative loop that they start behaving and believing in themselves to be able to do the things they want to do.
Yeah.
After that, then we'll go into deeper work that may turn into a childhood regression, going back to that moment or one of the moments where that false negative belief was impressed. Or there's another modality I use called parts therapy. And the idea behind parts therapy is that we all have subordinate parts to our personality, not divergent, but subordinate. They just stopped growing somewhere along the line. And they're acting out a script that they believe to be true and helpful, but maybe that script was learned when we were 5 or 6 years old, and it doesn't apply now that we're 30, 40, or 50 and trying to move forward in life. Yeah. And we'll talk to that part, understand why it's doing what it's doing and what its beliefs are and how it thinks it's helping, and help it to see that its behavior is not helping the person move forward, and reframe how it does its job, change how it does its job so that energy is used differently that's in alignment with their passion and purpose.
Wow, that is so amazing. So when you're working with the clients and you're talking about the, like, especially regression, and the affirmations part, I think I'm just trying to grasp this. So my understanding is that in hypnotherapy, the affirmations, what happens is they get immediately in there versus drip, drip type of thing. And then what are some of the results that people have? Is it pretty immediate, or are you, I've heard of the word anchoring, and I'm still kind of not sure what that means, but are they like having an instant, like, I'm confident and they're in action kind of stuff? What does that look like?
It depends. It depends client to client. For the most part, yes, it's relatively immediate, just coming out of the suggestion work. Because, and to touch back on what you were talking about, the affirmations going in right away. So if you're familiar with the model of the mind as an iceberg, where the 10% above the waterline is the conscious mind and the 90% below the waterline is the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind. In that model, the waterline is an element called the critical factor. Okay. And the critical factor is part of the conscious mind that calls BS on anything trying to get into the subconscious that's not in alignment with what the subconscious believes. So say we have somebody who grew up in a family where they saw terrible relationships with their parents, always heard this message of you can never be happy with anybody, just all those negative things that aren't true. And they grow up believing that. Heard it, they've seen it, that's it, their experience. So they'll go out, they'll get in relationships, either they'll self-sabotage or the relationship will just not work out, whatever reason it happens. And you could be sitting next to them as their friend after they've come out of a relationship and they're feeling despondent, and be patting them on the back saying, you're a great guy, you're going to find the right person, it's okay, you're a wonderful human being. And they very well may be. They hear it, but it never goes in because they don't believe that about how they can have a relationship with. And that's one of the reasons that traditional talk therapy takes so long to get back in. With hypnosis, when the conscious mind is relaxed, the critical factor moves to the side, and we have direct communication and response with the subconscious. So we're going right to where that old stuff is held and replacing it with the new beliefs that the person wants. After just that first session, clients will say they feel much more energized and feel more confident. I'll record that session to give to them so they can get that repetition of message, listening to it once or twice a day, every day for at least the next 3 to 4 weeks. They can listen to it much longer than that, or they can always go back and revisit it. But it was learned in repetition. It was reinforced in repetition. It can be replaced in repetition.
Okay, that makes sense. And those recordings, do you advise them to be awake, or do they go to sleep so that they're at the most relaxed state? What do you do?
They can do either. If they dedicate time to sit down and listen to it, almost like a meditation, going deeper, but going with the intent, and they dedicate that time and they stay present through the recording, they'll get somewhere around a 90 to 95% impression rate. Wow. If they listen to it when they go to sleep, they're actually dropping one brainwave level lower. So they would be, as they're sleeping, they're going into delta, to deep REM sleep. They'll still get 70 to 75% impression. So just as a reference, where we are talking right now, this is beta brainwave.
Okay.
The next level down is alpha. That's like light daydreaming, when we're sitting in the office and we're bored and we look out and stare at the trees and suddenly 25 minutes have gone by and we're like, oh, okay, I've got to get back to work now. The next level below that is theta. And that's where most of the hypnosis work gets done, is somewhere in a theta brainwave.
Okay.
And then after that is deep REM sleep in delta.
How do you get them to the theta brainwave?
Relaxation. So it's very much a guided relaxation, reinforcement of just continue to relax. Hypnosis is really about focused attention, particularly in the beginning. What used to be the swinging watch is now either focusing on a visualization in the mind's eye or having them actually stare at a fixed spot. If someone wants to use the watch, it would still work as a thing, because it's just about a place to focus the attention and get the eyes tired.
Wow. Gosh, I think I want to do this. It's just, I'm intrigued by what you guys do. It's amazing.
Happy to sign you up. I work long distance.
Okay. I mean, it just blows my mind that people can access having breakthroughs so quickly. You know, it just blows my mind. Wow.
I had a client, one of my very early clients, was a young girl who grew up in another country that has very strict cultural beliefs about marriage and where, someone should be married when they're 18 or 20 years old. And she had come over on a student visa. And I met her when she was 25. We're working together. And one of her things was she just felt disconnected. And when we were working with, and we went into a regression, she actually went back into where she was in utero. And it took me a minute to figure out what was going on. Because when we're doing that session, we don't know where that belief was impressed. So everything is very open in the questioning once we catapult back there. So I'm not asking leading questions. I'm not saying, oh, so you were 5 years old and you were with your parents. What's happening? It's where are you? Is it day or night, alone or with others? Just open, but somewhat framing questions to dial in. And then, how old do you seem to be? Something like that. And then what's happening? Tell me more. So she's, where are you? I don't know. It's dark. Okay. Is anyone come? Are you alone or with? I don't know. Okay. Day or night? I don't know. It's dark. Okay. And then the light bulb started to go off. Dark and warm or dark and cold? Dark and warm. Okay. And then it just stuck that, okay, I know where she's at now. And we're not going to get any further here. So I gave the suggestion, now we're going to step forward to the next moment in your life when this was important. And I snapped my fingers. She jumped forward about 2.5 years. And she was in a transition between being her mother giving her to her aunt to raise.
Wow.
And the situation was that when she was little, her mother evidently didn't have the ability to raise her. Her
Mhm.
sister did. And she made the agreement that her sister would raise her as her own to have a healthy life. But in that moment, and the conversation must have been going on when she was in utero, it became real when she was a little bit older and was now being walked away from her mother. And
Oh my
she
gosh.
impressed that I'm separated, I don't have a family. And as we worked through it, the message that she came to realize was that she's so connected. She actually has two families. And she came out of that session with such a huge smile on her face. And it was amazing to see the transformation in that 2 hours
Yeah.
of work.
Wow. That is amazing because, um, I mean, what you think about, you bring about. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're, you have those unconscious thoughts. And so, oh my gosh, that's big. So, so what do you want to tell people that you want to make? Well, actually, let me go back a little bit. What do you love about what you do?
I love seeing people get past those blocks that they perceive in their way that they're not sure how to get around. I love facilitating that growth out of the comfort zone that no longer fits into that broader sense of growth and living a life of passion and purpose.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And even just happy, even if their thing is to continue doing whatever it is they're doing. Maybe they don't want to be entrepreneurial, they just want to be happier and more fulfilled. That's so important in life, to
Yeah,
help it get rid of all that negative stuff that I'm not this, I'm not that. Well, you are who you are, and be happy. Learn to be happy there, and have a sense of fulfillment in the moment rather than through comparing to others and seeing a sense of lack instead.
yeah, that's powerful. So, what do you want people to know as we close up here? What is your big message that you want to make sure people hear?
That no matter where you are in life, if you are feeling stuck, you can change. If you have a vision, a feeling of what you want to do, it is entirely possible to do it. And once you start taking action, the universe, I love this quote, the universe will conspire to help you achieve.
Mm,
So
yeah,
anything you've learned that is limiting, you can unlearn and replace it with a powerful, supportive thought instead.
nice. Okay, and then how can people connect with you if they have more questions about hypnotherapy, and find out when, get immediate access to your new book that's coming out on June 30th in 10 days? That's
Yeah.
exciting.
So they can reach out to me through my website, danielolexa.com. They can email me at daniel@danielolexa.com, or they can certainly call me at 310-746-5929, and happy to do whatever I can to help people bring more light to the world.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for being on A New Day with Susan. I would love to get feedback or hear your comments on what you learned and heard today and how you could benefit from hypnotherapy. And if you have questions, connect with Daniel, and I'm sure he would love to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.